Hi Internet, welcome to the Greg Troyan YouTube channel, and welcome to Greg's 14 Adventures, a weekly vlog where I discuss my journey through Final Fantasy XIV as a first-time player. I beat A Realm Reborn back in 2022, and I'm finally finishing up the rest of the game. These vlogs are documenting my journey. If you like these videos and want to support their continued production, the best way to do that is to like the video, share it on a relevant social media site like Reddit, and leave a comment. And don't forget to check out the playlist of previous episodes, linked in the description and pinned comment. Thanks, pal. Hello friends, it's your buddy Greg. Hope you're having a great day. We are continuing our way through the very lengthy, great Final Fantasy XIV filler arc, where I am watching more Final Fantasy XIV on YouTube than actually playing the game. The past month or so, I've been going through all the different seasonal events that I'd missed over the years, and now I am beginning the next part of the great Final Fantasy XIV filler arc, where I go through all of the job quests that I have missed. Well, missed and don't plan on doing any time in the immediate future. Before I played through Final Fantasy XI, I watched all of the cutscenes on YouTube, including all the side quests and job quest cutscenes. And because the job quests in Final Fantasy XIV do have a pretty substantial amount of story and do build out the world pretty well, I do want to get that story content. But also, because I haven't been leveling other jobs because I don't like playing as them, I don't want to spend a ton of time grinding every single job up to this point, because that will delay getting to Shadowbringers even further. So this is ultimately the compromise that I'm doing, is watching the cutscenes for the jobs I'm either planning on not doing or not planning on doing in the immediate future, so I can get that great story content. And if I like a job story enough, I will likely go back and do that again at a later date. Again, I'm a person who actually doesn't mind watching video game cutscenes on YouTube before I play through them. Final Fantasy XI, Final Fantasy XV, and Final Fantasy XVI were all games I watched on YouTube completely before touching those games, and it made the second time going through them like, a second playthrough almost. The first time playing the game became my second playthrough, essentially. I actually ended up watching some cutscenes from Another Eden for one of the gacha characters I didn't get in the pools, one of the new characters, and it was a really good storyline. She's an important character in the newest expansion, a character named Havoc, who is basically a soldier who's, spoilers for Another Eden, whose sister was experimented on and then got fused with an alien entity, but the sister died, and then the girl's brain was put in her sister's alien hybrid body, and the storyline is about her coming to terms with the alien inside the body and reuniting with an old friend that she had back before, all the body horror experiments, and it was really good. Aldo showed up really late in the quest, but he is full-on power of friendship in this quest line, which is awesome. And the love and embrace of the shadow and the integration of that was really good, some really deep psychological stuff. So yeah, you can still get a lot out of watching cutscenes on YouTube for video games. I have done some actual 14 playing over the course of the past week. I did the Dragoon Quest X crossover event, which is another seasonal event. I'm still in seasonal event purgatory. I'd done it previously with my alt character Greg Troyan, but I've never done it with Lito, my main, because Lito didn't exist at that point, at least in 14. Even people who play Final Fantasy XIV with me forget about this, because Summoner Jobin forgot that Lito was made after Greg Troyan in Final Fantasy XIV. The timeline is, I played Final Fantasy XIV as Greg Troyan. I played Final Fantasy XI as Lito. I went back and replayed Final Fantasy XIV with Summoner Jobin and just sort of hung out while he did quests. And then I realized, I could make an alt and actually play alongside him. Made Lito, and then after I beat A Realm Reborn as Lito, I decided I liked playing as Lito better, and then Lito became my main and Greg Troyan became my alt. But yeah, so redoing the Dragoon Quest X crossover event, and it was just as okay as the last time. I'm not really into Dragoon Quest that much. I think Dragoon Quest lacks the depth of Final Fantasy, where it has all the fun RPG adventure vibes that you want, but there's not the life-changing profoundness of, there's no Cloud livestream sequence in Dragoon Quest. There's nothing that's going to change your life. It's just going to be a fun adventure, which, don't get me wrong, sometimes you're just in the mood for something fun, but Dragoon Quest, at least the, stuff of Dragoon Quest I played, has never fully vibed with me. And I love Dragon Ball. I love RPGs. So you'd think, this would be a guaranteed winner, but it's just so okay. And the crossover quest was, it was okay. It was fine. But yeah, aside from doing that as Leto, I also continued leveling Lancer with Summoner Jobin as my alt character Gred Troyan, and so it was mostly just like doing some fates and some duties, which included doing the Dragon Quest X fate again, so getting plenty of Dragon Quest in this past week. But as far as actually playing the game, that is all the 14 playing I've done. It's been mostly just watching cutscenes, baby. So as mentioned previously, I'm watching the job quest that I haven't done or missed. So that means anything up to this point in Stormblood, like a job that was released up to this point, I will be watching the story for. So I won't go into the role quests or jobs beyond Stormblood to avoid spoilers for future expansions. So basically, as jobs are released, I will watch those as I get to that point in the game. So, I'll watch the Shadowbringers job quest as I get to Shadowbringers, the Endwalker job quest as I get to Endwalker, etc., etc. But even just playing catch-up, there are over 100 videos to watch. And beyond that, there are also unique job and class quests for 1.0. While most of the job quests are the same, with the exception of, I think, White Mage, the class quests in 1.0 are all different than the class quests in A Realm Reborn and onwards. So that's all the 1.0 class quests that need to be watched, in addition to the class quests in the relaunched version of Final Fantasy XIV, plus the job quest. Oh, and the crafting jobs have different stories in 1.0. So there's so much. So I'm not going to go plot beat by plot beat with these job and class quests unless I feel it's really important to do so. And I'm just going to discuss things that I feel are worth discussing. So if a quest is like, go gather this stuff for a fetch quest, I don't feel I need to get into that for the purposes of these vlogs. I did that for the seasonal events because that was about, what the experience of the event was like, but it feels less necessary for the job quest. I'm more concerned about, what is the story impact here? So as far as jobs that I've done in Final Fantasy XIV up to this point, I've done the Pugilist and Monk quests up to level 50 as Gred Troyan. I've done the Lancer and Dragoon quest line up to level 50 as Leto. I've done the Red Mage quest up to Stormblood, and the first couple after Stormblood starts as Leto. The Goldsmith quest line up to level 50, did that as Leto. And I also did a couple other early stages of some other classes. I did a little bit of the Gladiator questline as Gred Troyan, and the tiniest bits of Arcanist as Gred Troyan, and a teeny tiny bit of Thaumaturge as Leto, but that's basically it. So there is a ton to catch up on. And, as mentioned in previous vlogs, before I played Final Fantasy XI, watched all the cutscenes on YouTube, including the side quests. But when actually playing 11, I pretty much only played as Red Mage. There were a couple instances where I did, a couple other jobs. I did Monk to grind out some item drops, and, subbed Black Mage. But otherwise, Red Mage feels like Leto's canon job. But, as I watch through these storylines, if I like a storyline enough, maybe I want to do it as Leto. But this is my middle ground of getting the story, but not spending a year of Greg's 14 Adventures just doing job grinding. This is that middle ground. This is that hashtag centrist Greg. So the first video I watched was the 1.0 Goldsmith storyline, and it started off shockingly strong. I was surprised at how good this was. We meet a character named Zapasa to get some crafting supplies, and she gives them up excitedly. And then we take them to a character named Coburna, who I don't recognize, but it seems like he's okay manipulating people to get what he wants, and basically knows he's hot, and that's why Zapasa gave him free crafting supplies. Or has, enough status and reputation that people want to just, get in his good graces. But Flamen comes to the guild, wanting to return the crafting gift that Coburna gave to her, but he says it represents his feelings. Zappa tells Flamen to get over the death of Coburna's brother and accept Coburna's love, but Flamen isn't ready to move on and move past her mourning. And so the next quest is crafting a brooch called Flamen's Flower, but the Botanist Guild refuses to deal with the Goldsmith Guild because they don't trust the current guildmaster and claim she's the one who had Coburna's brother killed, and that they don't want to help the Goldsmith Guild capture elementals inside their trinkets. We eventually pick some flowers for the brooch, but a Moogle tells us to stop, that it's forbidden, but after we explain that our intentions are pure, we're able to pick the flowers. And then there's a really great scene between Coburna and Flamen discussing the brooch and how it was Coburna's brother design, and there's this bittersweetness, and it's really strong, really strong character writing that ties into the main story of Final Fantasy XIV. It's shockingly good. And then the final quest of the questline is crafting fake copies of a blade called Heat Strike at the request of Lolorito in order to throw off potential thieves. Coburna then shows us the magically preserved corpse of his older brother Neo Fresnay, who was a character in the Final Fantasy XIV 1.0 MSQ. And he tells us that Neo Fresnay had taken the blade Heatstrike and brought it to the burial chamber where he was attacked and murdered. And we use the Echo to look into the past and discover more of the truth. And we see a meeting between Coburna and a character named Grindfar, and the two of them are discussing Heatstrike, and Grindfar seems to be adamant about obtaining it, no matter the cost. And so it's a really great, dramatic storytelling hook, and that is where the questline leaves off. It is absurd how good this is, how much it ties into the MSQ, how great the emotional beats are, the bittersweetness, the writing. Like, holy shit, 1.0. This is ridiculously good. I was genuinely shocked at how strong it was, versus like the Goldsmith questline in 2.0 was like, oh no, we built a robot, and the robot is like a little bit of a troublemaker. Again, like the storytelling hooks, the emotion, the tie into the main story, I was blown away by Goldsmith 1.0. The 1.0 Pugilist questline begins with you acting as a debt collector for the Platinum Mirage, which I thought would be kind of like Rocky 1, where Rocky is a debt collector, but he has a heart, and so like he doesn't actually like rough up or beat up people. And so I thought that'd be kind of what they would do with this, because the Word of Light's not going to actually just like beat up people for money, hopefully. But anyway, so one of the people we collect a debt from is a beggar who lives really frugally and lives on the streets, and I wonder how this guy got into the Platinum Mirage. Another person we collect a debt from is Luana, who nowadays hangs out at the Gold Saucer. Then the questline moves into a storyline about someone printing counterfeit chips for the Platinum Mirage, and we're tasked with investigating. It initially looks like it's Carvalin and his crew, but that's actually a bait and switch, and it's really Luana who printed all the counterfeit chips and distributed them because she was bored. Luana is basically a rich thrill seeker. Her husband is always abroad, and because she's bored, she does things like develop a feud with thaumaturges and makes counterfeit currencies, all because of boredom. And so this questline had a lot of usage of the Echo, but writing-wise, it was just okay. I also have a note here saying I missed the 1.0 sound effects. The 1.0 Lancer storyline starts up with some lore discussing the elementals, the Green Wrath, why the Whalers wear their masks, and other such lore. 1.0 Gridania focused a lot more on the balance between nature and Gridania, and there was a sinister darkness to the 12's Wood that really got lost in the transition to 2.0. Like, it's still there, but it's so far beneath the surface that you can completely miss it, where it was the core focus of 1.0 Gridania. The Lancer questline focuses on trying to build an alliance between Gridania and Ulda, because Alamigo was taken over by the Empire, which means Gridania is likely next to be attacked because Gridania borders Alamigo. And because Ulda borders Gridania, there's like that domino of like, hey, if Alamigo gets taken, Gridania's next. And then if Gridania's taken, Ulda is next, so we need to make an alliance. And so we go to Ulda to try to make friends with Pugilist to make an alliance, and despite winning over a Pugilist named Drews after fighting him, the fear of the 12's Wood makes the Uldans resistant to wanting to help us. And so a merchant caravan from Ulda requires an escort through the 12's Wood, but an airship from the Empire flying overhead spooks an entire herd of level 1s, and they trample over a Moogle that we take back to Gridania to recover. We find that the Imperials are burning down the hedge, and after stopping them we fight off an elemental to protect the merchant caravan. A Moogle tells us that the Forest is angry with us protecting the merchants, but we argue that we need to protect them to form an alliance with Ulda in order to fight off the Empire. We see an echo of the merchants attempting to poach a Moogle to sell on the black market, which really angers me. And when we discuss this at the guild, we talk about the need to form an alliance with unsavory parties just to survive against the might of the Empire, but just because we have evil allies doesn't mean we need to be evil ourselves. And so this really was great because it's about that moral gray area, which I feel 1.0 had a lot more of. And I think the writing in 1.0 is much better writing-wise than it was given credit for, including from myself back in the day. When I did my Final Fantasy video ranking series, I kind of trashed on 1.0's writing as being boring, but I think that's wrong. I think there's a lot of really good stuff in 1.0. But yeah, that moral gray area about like, will you be willing to take a unsavory ally if it means, protecting others and doing the greater good? That is a moral debate that has been had for a very long time that I continue to have with people and with myself about, what is the right thing to do? What compromises do you need to make in order to do the greater good, and where is that line crossed? So yeah, really good stuff. I also have a note here saying Jamoldva, an Alamican who joined the Whalers as a Lancer, is a pretty good anchor NPC for this questline. So after catching up on those 1.0 storylines that I missed, I moved over to the Goldsmith quest after level 50. So I did the Goldsmith quests as Leto, but I kind of cheese them by buying materials from the market board rather than gathering them through battles or other job classes like miners and such. So I decided to watch the remaining Goldsmith quests on YouTube because my guild purse cannot afford buying all those materials, and I don't, again, want to level up every single crafting and gathering job, at least not right now. So the questline is about crafting a music box as a gift from a wife to her military husband. And she wanted something meaningful, a song from their younger days that they both loved. And there's a line about what we should put in the box, rubies or sapphires, which of course made me jump to two different weapons, ruby weapon and sapphire weapon, which was amusing to me. But there's a bit of comedy when the husband comes in to commission a gift for his wife, and he has the exact same idea. And so we try to think of how to differentiate the music boxes, given that both of them want the same song in it. And Serendipity mentions she knows the composer and that we should go talk to him. And so we find the composer, Pierrevain, in the Sea of Clouds, seeking inspiration for his next piece. And fun fact, it turns out the song in question was inspired by Flamen. But anyway, the composer creates two arrangements of the same piece intended to be played together, as a way to make both of the boxes distinct. And so when we return to the Goldsmiths Guild, we find a special guest is visiting, Cobrana from the 1.0 storyline, who has been wandering the realm making high-quality musical crafted items for the past several years after leaving the guild, and we get some advice from him in regards to crafting. The main theme of this questline are the words of the former guildmaster, the father of Cobrana and Neil Fresnay, which have become a creed of the Goldsmiths Guild, to give form to that which is formless and breathe a warm, beating heart into the coldest of metal. And so we craft the music boxes and give them to the couple, and they love them. Cobrana watched the gift given from a distance with a look of satisfaction, and it feels as if the entire process allowed him some healing in his heart, making gifts with love as his brother and father would have done. And so yeah, it was definitely a good little questline. It wouldn't have hit nearly as hard if I hadn't watched the 1.0 Goldsmith quests, but because I did, it definitely hit harder. So then I went and jumped over to watching the Dragoon questline because I got Dragoon up to level 50 as Leto, and I'm doing Lancer and Dragoon as Gredtorin right now, but I don't like playing as it as much, so I don't think I'm in a rush to do the rest of the questline and, get up to like level 80 to watch all these. So Dragoon was next on the list, and the Dragoon quests after level 50 pick up with a character named Hostien, a former rival of Astinian, who asks us to train them in the ways of the Dragoon as they hunt down a dragon named Groli. We become their mentor, and I really like when Final Fantasy has a mentor-student relationship where the player is the mentor, like the relationship the adventurer has with Iroha in Final Fantasy XI. Hostien's father, a former Dragoon who retired due to an injury, begs us to look after his hot-headed daughter. And during a battle with dragons, Hostien ends up finding Groli and impulsively jumps on its back as it flies off. And so we go and find her and rescue her from some heretics, but she decides not to return home, and she asks us to tell everyone that she died in battle as she attends to a mysterious task. We tell everyone that she died, but we do admit to her father that she lives. And Albrecht from previous Dragoon quests and the Warrior of Light go to find her as Hostien hunts down heretics. Hostien reveals she was forced to drink dragon blood and can never return home lest she risk her father and her friends be accused of heresy. And so we assist her in defeating Groli, and her father begs her to return home, saying that we'll keep her secret. But Hostien explains her hunger for dragon blood grows too strong, and that she can't return home. Her father has faith she'll overcome her trials and hardships, and one day will be able to return, but in the meantime she vows to slay dragons across the land with their own power. After some time passes, we meet with Hostien in Dravania with a new ally, a dragon named Orn Kai, who is teaching her how to control the dragon within. He asks us to help find his father's consort, Phonem, who fled during the Dragon Sun War at his father's insistence. Now that there's peace between man and dragon, there's hope that they can finally be reunited. And so we ask about some dragon legends in the east because the dragon fled eastward, and we hear about the Slumbering Worm. And so we go to the Temple of the Fist in Ralgar's Reach and find Eric from the Monk questline, who explains the Slumbering Worm was a legendary monk from 500 years ago. After chasing down a dead end in the Ruby Sea, we hang around Kugane for a bit, which Orn Kai likes because the locals there really like dragons and think they're good luck, as opposed to how they were vilified and treated in Ishgard. And I thought that was actually a really clever thing they did there, where it's a parallel to the real world. In Eastern mythology and Western mythology, dragons are treated very differently. In Eastern mythology, dragons are treated as like symbols of good luck and are revered. And then in Western mythology, they tend to be like the villains, the monsters that need to be overcome. And so I like that they had the Eastern region, Kugane, respecting and loving dragons, and then the Ishgardians, the Western region, having that previously adversarial relationship with dragons. I thought that was really clever. But we meet with Gyoto, who tells us about a dragon in the Azim Steppe. And so we go to the Azim Steppe and find Foeman, but she's full of rage and fury and attacks us. And so we retreat as we try to rethink our approach. Our theory is that eons of loneliness away from her love has caused her to lash out, in addition to fighting off Nidhogg's call to arms. Which, as a reminder, that's basically anyone who is, like, under Nidhogg's spell kinda has to obey him through, like, mind control, magic-y stuff, essentially. But anyway, we meet with Estinian, who had been hired to deal with the dragon threat in the Ascian Steppe, but he planned on trying to talk with the dragon first, fighting and killing it if necessary, but now preferring to start with diplomacy. So nice character growth from Estinian. And so we fight Fonum again, along with Estinian and Ornkai, and Ornkai tries to reach Fonum's soul with his roar. Then Verderfolnir, Orn's father, arrives, and his words break Fonum free of Nidhogg's hatred once and for all. The lovers are reunited, and Orn suggests calling us Crimson Dragoons, now that we fight alongside dragons instead of against them. And then the Dragoon questline ends when we decide to hold proper funeral rites for Nidhogg. But we don't resolve the Hostian storyline, which is a bit anticlimactic because Ornkal's introduction was explaining how he helped Hostian fight the dragon within and control it, which is something that both Estinian and the Warrior of Light have done. And then we're just leaving her wandering around, going on adventures. Even though the heretics are no longer a concern, she can control the dragon within much better, and her elderly father misses her. Like, the fact that she just never goes home and says, like, oh, so we're at peace, and I can control the dragon within, and I'm friends with dragons, and so there's no reason for me not to return home, but I'm still not going to. It feels like a kind of womp-womp ending, not resolving that. Especially since the introduction of Ornkai was, hey, I've been helping Ostien control the dragon within, and so I'm helping her out a bunch. We resolved my storyline, but not hers. So, yeah, I wasn't a fan of how they just left that thread hanging. That felt kind of weird. Then I moved on to watching the Monk questline, which I did up to level 50 as Gred Troyan, so watching the Monk quest after level 50. And so the Monk questline resumes with Widdergelt, training new disciples, Dezensa and Ochaka, as he seeks to revive the Fist of Ralgar. We give his students a lesson when we hear him get attacked by monks, but after he's attacked he feels a new power awakening within him. We find another student of his attacked, and when confronting the monks, we find Dejanta and Ochaka, who reveal they are part of a secret sect of dark monks who rival the light monks. We get glowing third eyes like Garleans, and awaken a new chakra gate as the girls leave and we question our new powers. When we find the girls again, we battle and open up additional chakras. And so apparently there are 14 different chakras, 7 light chakras, and 7 dark chakras. And the only way for a light monk to open up their dark chakras is to battle a dark monk. And the only way for a dark monk to open up their light chakras is to battle a light monk. The next time we meet Ochaka, she explains their master, the dark monk Harahatia, had the girls fight to the death in order to awaken their final chakras, but Dezensha faked Ochaka's death so that she could escape. We attempt to find another way to open up our final dark chakra, and end up failing, but when doing so we meet with Harahatia, who says he'll release Dezensha if Ochaka kills Widdergelt to open up her final chakra, and if the Warrior of Light becomes his subordinate. But the next time we meet Harahatia, we refuse his offer and fight. Harahatia absorbs energy from the girls and Widdergelt and is about to kill them, but we jump in front of the attack, and by protecting others, we open the final chakra gate and defeat Harahatia. Afterwards, the girls say they'll bring in monks of the dark to fill the ranks and rebuild the Fist of Ralgar together with Widdergelt, confident they'll be able to awaken their chakras without bloodshed. After that, we head to Girabanya to revive the Fist of Ralgar. And during a demonstration of the fist to one of the local villages, I note to myself, man, Widdergelt looks a lot like Hildebrand. In order to promote the order, we decided to do a cross-discipline match of monks versus pugilists to further showcase our skills to the village. And it's nice seeing the pugilist characters again after so long. Nice they aren't completely forgotten in favor of the class upgrade. But as we get ready for the match, Corpse Brigade pugilist attack, led by the Griffin. The Griffin states that he is Theobald, rightful heir to Alamigo, and that Widdergelt is his cousin Theodred. According to the Griffin, Theodred's parents plotted treason against the Mad King and had their son raised in the Temple of the Fist so that he would be safe. But the king found him and sent his men to destroy the monks and kill Widdergelt. The Griffin then leaves after his lore dump, and we decide to postpone the match between pugilists and monks, while we consider what all these revelations mean. Eric explains that the Corpse Brigade were the personal guard of the royal family and trained in anti-monk style combat. Widdergelt is completely depressed with his defeat and the revelations of his past, but Eric gives him a pep talk about how Eric's son joined the resistance and died. And so while Eric wanted his son to be a scientist, his son was ultimately an Alamegan resistance fighter. And so it's about your actions, what you do with your life, not your blood, that defines you. Widdergelt reveals that he suspects that Theobald is Audrey, his close friend from the Temple of the Fist back in the day. We then train Widdergelt and the girls in the ways of the pugilists, but then hear that Eric has called for us, and only us. And it ends up being a trap when we fight the Corpse Brigade, but after the fight, Widdergelt challenges Theobald to a duel, and Theobald reveals, yes, he is actually Audrey, he is not actually the heir to Alamigo, he just took on that title to gain power. And so Wittergelt and Audrey fight, and Audrey loses the duel, but then gets into a Magitech armor, and we, along with the monks and Pugilists, fight him and his forces and ultimately win. Wittergelt gives an inspiring speech about his desire to rebuild the Order, shows mercy on Audrey, and has him healed by the villagers. And the final monk quest begins with us talking to Eric about how some resistance members are seeking Wittergelt, and basically Eric asks us to make sure everything is on the up and up, and I heard the Shadowbringers quest music for the first time with that electric guitar, and it sounds really cool. We end up finding Wittergelt in Little Alamigo at the grave of Audrey, who I guess fled during recovery and died on the road. So the ending of that last quest, like, oh, Wittergelt showed mercy, and so his friend can revive, and we'll see where that relationship goes. Like, nope, he just dies. But then after discussing some Shadowbringers spoilers I have no context for, we go to Ralgar's Reach and meet with Lys, who asks Wittergelt to train Alamigan soldiers. We then visit the Temple of the Fist, the two have a friendly sparring match, and Eric is pleased that Lys and Wittergelt are working together for the future of Alamigo. And so the monk questline was pretty solid. I think my favorite part was that they made the Pugilist still relevant to the plot, instead of just being like, oh, it's a class upgrade, we don't care about these characters anymore for the rest of 14. That was nice, but overall the questline was just like, it was just okay. It didn't blow me away like some of the other ones. It was good and solid though. But with that, I managed to get through the jobs that I played a significant portion of in Final Fantasy XIV. My, alternative jobs. Red Mage is my main job for Lito, and Monk is my main job for Gredtrorin. But with doing this, like, those are the jobs that I've actually spent a significant amount of time actually playing in Final Fantasy XIV. So I've, dabbled in a couple of other jobs, the tiniest bit, but those are the jobs that I've played a lot of. So going forward, it's going to be jobs that either I played like the tiniest bit of for maybe like an hour or two. Next up, I'm going to be going over the jobs I've played like a tiny bit of, but haven't really done the quest lines for. It'll be a nice refresher on those job storylines, and it's exciting to see all the surprises in store for all the other jobs. So we've got a long journey ahead of us, but thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Please let me know your thoughts on these quests in the comments below. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Bye, everyone.